Welcome back to the Rein In Your Herd podcast. Thanks for tuning in to another episode where we will teach you how to harness the power of the internet to grow your online herd. I'm Laura.
And I'm April. We can't wait to watch your business grow when you implement what you learn from the podcast. Whether you own a stable or a boarding facility, offer riding lessons and horse training, or are building an online membership for equine education, these tips can help you get more clients.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the podcast, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. If you share your business name in your review, you just might hear it in a future episode.
Welcome back to episode 10 of Rein In Your Herd. Today we are really excited to be talking with Mary Phelps, owner of Horses Daily. I worked with her for a couple of years while I was in college. I assisted her with her website, content, social media management, and even more. I worked remotely and alongside her at her Kentucky and Florida homes. While working with her, I even learned about combined driving. So welcome, Mary, to the podcast.
Hey, hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
We are really excited that you're here, and we want to start out by kind of telling us the story about how you started on the internet back in 1997.
Sure. Well, if any of you are old enough to remember when the internet started, in 1997, it was very, very new. I think maybe it was only about 5 years old. And as a photographer, I was covering the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, and the United States equestrian team needed photos, and they had just started a website. So back then it wasn't even digital. So I would go to the drugstore with my film every day in Atlanta, get it developed, scan the pictures, email them up to Gladstone, and they would use those photos to post on their newly launched website. So looking back, it makes me realize that our images were some of the very first Olympic images ever to be on the internet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I thought, this thing called the internet that was happening, I didn't think it was going to be just a fad or a passing fancy. I thought it was something that I needed to get into, even though I didn't understand it at all. And so through the person that at the time was managing this, I got my domain set up. At that point, it was for my photos, and got started without really knowing what it all was. So that's how it all began, as a way of marketing my photos, because I was a horse show photographer and thought that this internet thing might be helpful to my business. So that's how it began, and then it all kind of grew from there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, if you wanted to dive a little deeper into that, like how did it transform from your photography to Dressage Daily, and now it's Horses Daily? Like, because I know I was working with you a lot when it was Dressage Daily, and then it kind of now has moved into Horses Daily, but you still can go to dressagedaily.com and it still pops up. But
Yes. Yeah. Well, back then it started as Phelps Photos, and there were some issues with domain rights and everything, because at the time, the person who registered my very first domain, well, to be honest, held it hostage at that point. And I really didn't know exactly what was going on, and it was a struggle to get it released. And when I did, I thought, at the time, I thought, well, you know what? I'll just start another domain. And I cover mostly dressage at the time. So I started Dressage Daily, kind of like, the New York Daily News, but the daily news for dressage. And at the time, that back then, domains and domain names had a potential huge value. And so I thought I better grab a few more names. Dressage Daily is a good one, but I should do Horses Daily as well, just so that if we decide to expand into other coverage other than just dressage, I'll have that domain. So from that, I also registered the names. So Show Jumping Daily, I have Combined Driving Daily, and several other domains related to the actual individual sports in equestrian sport. But mainly it was Dressage Daily. So in 1997, when I launched Dressage Daily, the idea was I do one story a day with a photo and a little bit of content, and that was kind of the idea. That's all I had time for. And I also thought, my readers, they're all busy horse people, and they don't have a whole lot of time to be sitting on the internet. So one story a day, if I put it out, should get a lot, enough attention that it would be all that's needed. Well, that was the beginning. And for better or for worse, we kept growing it from that point going forward.
So one thing that really makes your website unique is your horse sale ads. And today, there's a million different places where people can list horse sale ads, but this is something that has done really well for you over a long period of time. So can you kind of speak to why this is, has been doing well and is still doing so well on your specific website?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to share that. And of course, it is something that is evolving. And when we started the website in 1997 with dressage, it's mostly dressage horses that we represent. And I made a trip to the Netherlands and was traveling around with some friends that were horse shopping. And remember, the internet was brand new back then. Brand new. I mean, people were very suspicious of it as well. Very paranoid and very suspicious of it. And so I started traveling around to different stables with a wonderful horseman and some friends of mine who were horse shopping. And it became apparent to me that some of the cost of some of these horses kept growing with the different people that were involved in the sale of the horse. You'd go to one place and they'd have a representative, or they'd have somebody else driving around with other people. And I thought, this new thing called the internet could really be a game changer in horse sales. And the main reason that I thought was it could create transparency and make it so that there weren't going to be all these apparent hidden commissions involved in the sales of horses, and that it would level the playing field. So we, with the permission of a few people over there, we photographed and videotaped several horses for sale, and that then put them on the website. But I had certain rules, and April, you'll probably remember this. So first of all, the main rule was that you would have to declare a price. We weren't going to allow anyone to advertise horses for sale on our website unless they said what the value was. And we created, in the database, we created different price categories. We'd start at, I think, I forget right now, but up to 20,000, then 20 to 40,000, for example, and 40 to 50, that kind of a range, so that when people were searching the site, they could search in a price range that they wanted to look. And we told our sellers, listen, I think it's only fair that you should, when you price your horses, consider pricing in a 10% commission, which is a fair commission for people involved in assisting in the sale of horses. So we started and it took off. Now in 1997 and 1998, we were the only act in town. I mean, we were the only ones doing it. And it was it became very popular very quickly. And we charged for it. We charged $200 per ad. And it took a lot of time to produce these ads, not to mention the expense in managing the website, always working with programmers that were helping with all of this sort of thing. And it really attracted very good people. And I am proud to say that that was 1997, so it's over 20 years. And we have rarely had a problem with the sale or negotiation of a horse. And I attribute that to a couple of things. As you know, as competition came along, people were offering this service cheaper and cheaper, some of them maybe even for free. And that sometimes lent itself to fraud or to a big waste of time for the serious horse seller and the serious horse buyer, because there'd be all kinds of people would complain, I have this woman looking for a horse for her daughter and she only wants to spend $5,000, but my horse is $40,000, and all of this responding to people is wasting my time. So that's why they continue to prefer to be with us. But in addition, the other reason is that we're not just a horse for sale website, that we're bringing news and information on the equestrian world, on shows and individuals and all kinds of things. So our website has more of a reason for people to visit it than just to look at the horse market. I really felt early on that was a very important factor in the success of the website, and it does continue to this day. I will say that it's definitely fallen off. We don't get the kind of ads that we used to, but we still get some of the same people that were with us in the beginning, and they're serious horsemen and they're serious people, list with us because we kind of filter out a lot of the tire kickers. There's something to be said for you get what you pay for,
right?
Mm-hmm. And actually we lowered the price. It's now $150 an ad, and we continue to add what we do for that. Mm-hmm. Now the site has an app, so that's a brand new thing. We have an app, and there's a link at the bottom of the app where you can just go directly to the horse market. And we were there before social media. We existed before Google. We existed before Facebook. And so we now use social media, mainly Facebook. We have a Facebook horse market page. So we have continued to give added value to our advertisers. We also have a newsletter that goes out, not a lot, maybe once a month, because we don't want to inundate people with that. Mm-hmm. And but we have added value to our horse market services, and and it still continues to work. Honestly, it's not as profitable as it used to be. Neither is the website as profitable as it used to be when we were the only act in town. And that's where social media has impacted us I don't like to use the word negative, but in a challenging way. But it's also given us I'm always sort of thinking, well, how can we work it to our advantage? So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's where I was going to next. I was going to say, how has social media kind of changed how you've ran your business or your websites? And then when you mentioned that you're older than Google, I had to go look at how old Google was. But yeah, they didn't start till 1998. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it has. And I've spoken with other web people that provide a really valuable service to the sport. Cindy Timmer, who is has a website HoofNet, that is the definite go-to place for the international sport of combined driving. Mm-hmm. And she and I have compared notes and how it used to be a much better income back then, because people would come to us for advertising and marketing and other services that they're now able to do on their own through Facebook and different levels of social media. But both people like us were hanging in there and continuing to not only provide the service, but continuing to improve it. And the expense continues to grow. We have our website is Drupal-based technology, which is really complicated, but it has to be because we have 22 years of content to manage.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a lot. And so we do that. And of course, it requires people on our team, keeping content updated. And so we have created social media pages for Dressage Daily, Horses Daily, Horse Market on Dressage Daily. We have Show Jumping Daily. We have Combined Driving Daily, Driving Ponies, and then also my insurance service. So the way it is right now is I look at it, and I've continued to justify it by saying that this is how I, as an equine insurance agent, makes a contribution to the sport. And that if I had an office and was paying rent on that office and utilities and all of that, I instead have a website where I'm providing the service of, sharing news and information on equestrian sport. The horse market helps to pay for some of the expenses running the website, but it doesn't it doesn't make a profit like it used to. And but it still is my platform as an equine insurance specialist for Markel Corporation, who I've been with now for 17 years. So that's sort of the way I justify it as my contribution to the sport. But we're always looking at ways to make it at least self-sustaining. So that's the challenge right now. Social media, I've had the attitude, if you can't beat them, join them. And I have 100% respect for the Facebook platform and what it has done and how it has changed our whole reality. And so we get a lot of information from Facebook, same way the national news does, and so it's constantly keeping an open mind, watching what other people are doing, paying attention to certain people's behavior on Facebook, sometimes privately advising them that they should be more careful. And in a marketing sense, as you know, April, getting involved in helping clients promote their businesses, it's not a new frontier anymore, but it's constantly evolving.
Oh yes, definitely changing all the time.
Changing all the time. I think that that's a huge takeaway that I hope our listeners are having as they listen to this is, you've built something and continually changed and found ways to hold on to your community when things that were completely out of your control happened, and kept holding on and learning and making changes. And that's how you stick in this, because who knows what's going to happen in another 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it's just like anything. If you're honest and sincere and willing to work hard,
Yes.
and put a lot of, energy and into it, hopefully it will continue to work. There are times when you have to take a good, honest look at things and say, this isn't working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And way back, all along the line, I've always had in the back of my mind that I would like to eventually sell it, and have continued with the programming and the quality of the programming that's involved in all the content that I have, with that always in the back of my mind, that if it is for sale, somebody does want to purchase this domain, or they can actually be franchised out, and there's Horses Daily, but then there's all the individual disciplines. That has always been in the back of my mind. And as social media grows and all these other things affect the value, it's not like the old days when you had it's not like the old days when you had newspaper or magazine moguls that sold their empires for multi millions of dollars. The social media has impacted the value on some level, but then on another level, and I've asked other people, and I'm sure you guys have explored this, having a quality, legitimate website that has successfully and diligently archived important historical content for a sport has a value. It's a value that is respected. And when we do articles on the website and share them on social media, that helps the traffic for those articles. And our traffic is really very strong and powerful. And but that's another thing. It's like, it's all very well and good to have great traffic. How do you translate that into dollars and cents that will help your efforts not only be self-sustaining, but help your efforts to grow?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's really great points. So now we do like a halfway break segment, and we do kind of do like a pony update. And this is kind of the fun part of the podcast or the episodes. And so Mary, tell us a little bit about your ponies and what you just recently did with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, so all along, ever since I started working in the horse world, it was because I loved horses and wanted to ride, wanted to be a part of the sport on some way, but didn't really have the resources that other people had. So started doing horse photography. That grew into the website, that grew into doing the insurance business, did all of that. So I got a little Shetland pony over 15 years ago now, when I bought my farm in southern Kentucky, and just wanted to dress up in a pretty hat and drive a cute little pony around, and maybe do a little competition here and there, and thought that would make me happy. And so then I thought, oh, well, I want to do combined driving, but my pony is too small. And to, have a navigator and all that. So I got another pony and started learning how to drive pairs. And, but they were, you remember them, April.
Oh, yes.
You knew them. And so, but I started doing it and started competing, and I was in Florida with them. And so the only shows that I could do were some of the big ones with the big CDEs that were for the upper level drivers as well, and international judges and all of that stuff. And we did it. And our dressage was usually pretty terrible, but they were fast and loved to go fast. And so we did the marathon, which was a lot of fun. Then I think I've had the gangsters now for 5-6 years.
The gangsters?
Well, yeah. So their name, so a very good friend of mine, Johnny Robb, who's a wonderful marketing person in the sport. She's in Wellington and everybody knows her. She contacted me. She said, do you think your horse market could help me sell these 2 ponies I have? They're driving ponies. And I'm like, well, I don't know, it's mostly dressage, but let me see them. And she sent me the ad, and they were 2, Al Capone and Bugsy Maloney were the ponies. And of course, those were her, and they were classic American Shetland ponies, which is not your vision of a Shetland, because it's a combination of Hackney pony and American Shetland. And they were beautiful paint, buckskin, white and black paint. And so anyway, I said, you know what? I want to buy these ponies. So but my other little ones weren't really cutting it. And I had the bug now. I wanted to do better. So we bought them, and we bought them in, I'm sorry, I can't remember the year. It was 5 years ago. And they were just in the beginning of training with Barry Yeager, who's a super trainer and a super pony guy. But literally, we hooked them up and he galloped them out of the barn, and he said, let me just canter them around for a half an hour, and then we can see what they can do. So that's how it started. And I have, throughout the years, I've worked with many great trainers in our country, and I've covered the 2 of the FEI World Driving Championships as a photographer. And one was in Pau, France. And then 2 years ago, it's every 2 years, we went to Minden in Germany and covered it then. So in Pau, the winner was Bram Chardon, who is the son of IJsbrand Chardon and the Chardon family from the Netherlands. And he had a team of 4 ponies. And that particular show, he won with the ponies. And then 2 years after that, won it again. And we started to communicate. And he was just in his early 20s. But I asked him if he'd be willing to come to America and do a clinic and help me with my ponies. And he said yes. Mm-hmm. So we brought him over, and he navigated for me in Kentucky at the Kentucky Classic. And then we did a clinic the week in between. And then the week after, I said, you know what? We were entered in the Hermitage, which is a beautiful event in Louisville. And I said, you know what? why don't you drive the ponies? Let's see what they've got. Because they were small and everybody was like, oh, this is kind of a joke. They were so small. And I said, why don't you do it? It'll be good for the event. 3-time world pony driving champion, driving my ponies. And he had to go intermediate because I only had one little carriage and it wasn't advanced, it wasn't FEI regulation. And he won the whole thing. And I still remember the announcer, Jeff Morgan, as he was flying around the cross-country course saying, Mary sure doesn't drive him this fast. So that was the beginning of thinking, maybe we can do this. And we did. We did it this year. We went to Europe with, I now have 4 ponies, all the same color. There's Al Capone, Bugsy Maloney. I have a little mare that was a rescue mare who had been at the Kentucky Horse Park, and we adopted her.
I'm a huge horse rescuer. That warms my heart. I love that.
Yeah. And she is the littlest of them all and the feistiest. And so we have Kimba, and then 2 years ago, we got a young pony, same coloring. They all find me, same coloring. And he had a typical pony name like Biscuit, which just wasn't going to cut it. So we changed his name to Tony DePony. And so now we have the gangsters. And this year, I just took a leap of faith and figured I have a 401k and I'll just cut into it if I have to. And we made plans and we qualified the ponies this year in competition for the Pony Driving World Championships. And we went to, we flew the ponies. I was with them on the flight over on a cargo plane. 4 ponies, 2 carriages, 4 trunks, 4 bags of equipment, and everything over there. And the adventure began. So we trained at the Chardon stable, which was the most amazing experience of my life, to be a part of that family and their incredible operation. And then we went to Kisbeer, Hungary. And at the time, April was in touch with me and she said, oh, I'm going to come and watch you. I'm in Germany and I'm going to come and watch you. And I said, well, would you come and work? Because I really needed help. I didn't have, the Chardons were really helpful. They had a great team, but I really needed an extra person to be totally focused and helping my husband, Wayne, and I. So April came and was part of this whole adventure. And I was really I was happy to be there. I had worked really hard for 3 months to have the ponies be the best that they could be, along with Bram, and just driving in the presence of Bram and his father, Icebrand, and his sisters was a lesson in itself. Rather, we got a lot of training, but just being in that atmosphere what brought us to a new level. And utilizing their training facilities and their cones courses that were really set up beautifully. So anyway, we went to Hungary and we got through the dressage. We had our best dressage that we've done, which has always been difficult, with the ponies because they're so hot. And then Bram was my navigator in the marathon. And we flew, didn't we, April?
Oh yeah, y'all did amazing.
We had an amazing marathon, and meanwhile, like all these Europeans, they're like, what are those ponies? What are those ponies? And then on the final day, the final phase of combined driving event is the cones, a very twisty, turny course of cones that has balls on them and a very narrow, for the carriage. I mean, you have to be really precise. And Wayne, my husband, was on the back in the cones. And we went in and we started warming up, and the ponies were wild because they had done the marathon the day before. And the ones that we went with was Kimba, the little feisty rescue mare that I had just brought along for the ride. I hadn't thought she was going to, be at the end result. But Tony, the young one, who's super talented, is still young and a little and not quite ready. The all the busyness was a little distracting for him. And so we decided to go with the mare about 6 weeks into training. And she was great. They were great. And so we went in, we did the cones, we're going around the cones course. And I'm like, I didn't hear any ball. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hit anything, I don't think. And I didn't see anybody out there in the arena getting up to go reset cones or replace balls. And I'm like, maybe I'm clear. And I tried going as fast as I could because the time is very, very tight. And as we went through the finish line, I heard the announcer say clear in the cones with just a small amount of time out of the time. So it's like very cool. I just did the world championship cones.
Yeah.
Clear.
Oh.
And with a little bit of time. And, it doesn't get any better than this. And so we were that moved us up from 19th place after the marathon. We were in 28th place after dressage out of 38. Then we moved into 19th place after the marathon. And then we were in about maybe 15th place. And and then the top 10 were still to come, in the class. And I'm like, well, I'm sure that, I'm not going to be on the leaderboard forever. And even, I don't know if you remember, April, I even went back to the camper and started packing and everything. And I'm like, let me go take a picture of the scoreboard while my name is still on the top, just to see it, Mary Phelps with the American flag next to it. And so I went back over and watched some more going on. And the announcer kept saying, and Mary Phelps USA is still in the lead. And I said, oh my God. So when the top 10 came, I thought, well, let me just go see how it's going. And everyone in there had at least one ball, some of them more. Most every single one of them had time. And I was still in the lead. And,
oh my gosh.
I know it was. And Bram is standing beside me and we're looking at each other and he's like, he's trying to, he's looking surprised and neither of us dare say it. Do we dare say it? But then, and he kept saying, well, here comes, this one, they'll put in a double clear. And they didn't.
No, I think even one went completely, as Wayne taught me, they went bowling, because I guess that's
bowling.
Does that mean they just knocked down everything?
They knocked out a lot of balls, and I think.
But it was a really difficult course. It had a lot of very like sharp turns, but because we have been training it. The Chardons had courses like that set up in the Netherlands. They know the course designers. They know what kind of courses the course designers build. They study all of that. You know, they study the courses and they set up the exercises ahead of time. And those sharp, you know, left, right turns, he taught me stay straight longer when you're coming out of a cone. You know, just a little bit longer. Don't try turning while you're in the cone, and come, you know, give yourself space. Give yourself the space. And I was in, you know, when I was in there, it felt so good. And it felt like I was calm. I felt like I was ready for this. And it was and we have the video. I'm publishing the article today on Horses Daily with a really good video that the videographer of the show did with this whole story. So it'll be etched in time. And so anyway, the final ponies went in that were in first place, and he had a ball. And Bram and I looked at each other and realized we had just won the cones phase at the Pony Driving World Championships in Hungary. And
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
it was, and moved up from 19th after marathon to 12th overall. And it was, you know, it was just incredible.
It was awesome.
And the sportsmanship of all of my fellow competitors, many of them I got to know at an earlier competition in the Netherlands, and while we were there that week, everyone was so wonderful. And we were in the awards. We got up on the podium, my husband and I together, and we're standing on number one.
Oh my gosh.
So cool. Really cool.
It was just a thrill. So anyway, we did it. And then, but we get back, the ponies had a 2-day drive back to the Netherlands, and we still had another 10 days before we had to fly home. So guess what we did? We started hooking all 4 of them together, which Bram just, you know, loved. And we didn't want to do that before we went because we were training pairs so much. And we get back to Chardons, and they have converted their entire training field to prepare for the indoor season. The World Cup indoor season is phenomenal. It's amazing. It's throughout all of Europe, and it ends up in February in Bordeaux. It's going to be in Olympia in December during the holiday season. And it's the indoor season is for the horses. It's only 4-in-hand horses, and it's only invitational. And Bram is the reigning World Cup champion. He won it last year. So the course was all set up, which is a little bit different than for combined driving. It combines cones and obstacles. And so we started driving the 4. And when you drive 4, it's a whole different way of handling the reins. You actually have to take loops in the reins to turn left and to turn right, to control your leaders and to manage your wheelers. And at first it was like I wasn't getting it. But we did it 4 times, and I started getting the feel for it. And then one day I handed the reins over to Bram, and I, just like he did when we were at the Hermitage several years ago, I said, "Show me what these ponies can do."
Yeah, I saw that video with them going.
Oh my
over
gosh,
the obstacle.
I'll be sharing that as well.
Awesome.
I said, show me what they can do. And he started off. Wayne was on the back with them, and Chris, one of the other navigators, because with 4 you have 2 on the back, and they started to fly. And they were so handy in and out of all the turns because of all the training they've been doing. And he was just laughing at the end of everything. And he said, and there is a division in a lot of the indoor for ponies, which, you know, I kind of think are more fun to watch. And he said these ponies could win everything in the indoor. So there was a moment there when I said, cancel all flights, sell everything, sell the farm in Kentucky, sell the farm in Florida. We're staying. So anyway, it was just the experience of a lifetime. And I just want to add one more thing that I think is really important for people to know is that I'm 68 years old, you know. I mean, I like to say I don't think I look it, but I am. And I worked hard at staying in as best shape I could, considering different injuries I've had in my life, and worked really hard. And I think that I don't think that this has definitely sharpened my brain and works on keeping my brain sharp. And so we were one of the oldest competitors, and we definitely had the smallest ponies at the Pony World Championships.
Yeah, the smallest pony, Kimba.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just a great, great sport. It's a great sport, and it's doable. And when we flew home, we were surprised at the airport by the ladies in the driving club that I belong to.
Aww.
Yeah, with American flags waving, and our flight was 2 hours late, so they had hung around and waited. And there must have been 15 people there, and as we got off the plane, jumping up and down and with signs and flags and to welcome us home. So going forward now, we want to, you know, carry this energy forward into continuing to share the sport and educate people about the sport and prove that it's doable. It's doable. And so on November, I think it's whatever, let me check the date. I think it's November 17th. It's a Saturday, 16th or 17th of November. We're going to be doing a demonstration at the Ocala Jockey Club that's having a big 4-star combined training event, you know, and it's the last Olympic qualifier for eventing, that's riding. And my sport is designed after combined. You know, it was created actually by Prince Philip, and it's the same thing, you know, dressage, marathon, and our cones is sort of the equivalent of combined training, stadium jumping. So we're going to, you know, do a demonstration, and maybe we'll convert some more people.
Fun. Yes, definitely. It's definitely, I didn't know anything about it till I started working with you. It was definitely something different.
Yeah,
it is. Sport. I love riding on the back, especially when Kimba would kick into gear. That was pretty fun.
Gosh.
Yeah, and we have a really cute video of you. I was just looking at it the other day. Now that I mean, I was keeping up with everything on my social media page as much as but only a fraction actually of everything that was going on. So hopefully now that we're back home and I've got my own office and everything's set up, I'm going to be working. You know, I'm back in gear with the website. I want to thank my girls, Liz Ruggiero, Tracy Scharf, and Debbie Schumann for keeping up with the website and letting me do this, and Tracy for managing the insurance business. Although it was really good for me to be in Europe and moving around and understanding the dynamics of the horse business over there, getting to know, that. So now we're back in the USA, back in Florida, and newly inspired.
Oh
Yes,
my gosh.
that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I volunteer at this rescue that's very small and they're just starting out, but they have about 14 ponies and minis, and I'm going to be looking at those horses a little differently next week when I'm out there.
Yeah, exactly. So
I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on this podcast. We really enjoyed hearing all about the combined driving and all about your beginning on the website and all the fun stuff. So we wanted to know where we can find all your information for your Horses Daily and for Markel.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, you go to horsesdaily.com, and it was recently upgraded about 2 years ago with my wonderful programmers who I want to mention. The company is called bitsourcekentucky.com. It's bitsourceky.com. And they're a unique group. They are from Eastern Kentucky, and there have been some television shows. That's how I found out about them, because a lot of them are former coal miners. And so they saw a need in that area to provide a new career for the industry, because the coal mining industry is very technical. And that's how the company began. And I love working with them. They're very good. And like I said, we're Drupal technology. So they took over and upgraded the design, and we've been working with it. It's a very powerful programming that we have only begun to tap into all the things that we can do. So it's horsesdaily.com, and you can pretty much navigate it pretty easily. And if you don't, just send me an email and I'll help you. Mary at horsesdaily.com. Remember to put the S in Horses Daily. And so that's where it is. And on that site, I have an insurance tour. And one of the things that we're very proud of is we have our Markel Mondays. So we publish articles every Monday about related to insurance, explaining a lot of different coverages and the things that risk management and certain levels of insurance, because we do not just equine horse mortality, but we also do liability and farm owners, and it really is a highly specialized field. And Tracy Scharf and I work closely together and spend a lot of time with our clients. Then Tracy works very closely directly with all the underwriters at Markel, plus we also are underwriters. And whether people choose to go with us or not, we want to help them make all the right decisions for their horse and their equine business, because we insure farriers, we insure trainers, and sometimes in some areas we can't do property insurance, but we can always do the liability. And so it's a wonderful, Markel is an amazing company. They've been very supportive of us, and they recognize the value in what we do, which is the highlight, to being recognized for what we brought to the table with horsesdaily.com and what we provide for the industry is, it's a real morale booster for all the years that we've spent building this site. So anyone that's involved in the technical industry and trying to make adjustments and trying to use it in their world of horses and their world of development, it's like anything else. You've got to work really hard and keep plugging away and keep building your value, because the quality of service that you're able to help provide will rise above. And I've seen it work for others, and it's worked for us.
Definitely it has. Well, thank you again, Mary, for joining us on this episode. I know our listeners are going to learn so much about your business and how you've grown it, and I really hope they enjoy this episode.
Oh, I enjoyed doing it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you're ready for some extra help with the online part of your business, you can work with us. I'm April, and I own Make It Rain, where I help equine businesses gain exposure online through creating content, social media management, SEO, email marketing, video editing, and more. Let me work in your business while you can focus on your business. So don't get bogged down with trying to do all the things. Check me out on my website, makeitrain.com.
I'm Laura Langfit with Unbridled Content Marketing. I can help you with all your writing needs. From your website to your social media posts, I love to write, and if I were to take a wild guess, I'd imagine that you don't. Check out my Facebook group. It's called Must Love Horses, Small Business, Social Media, and Content Tips. You can get to know me more there. Don't forget to go out there and rein in your herd.